Warning, this podcast contains themes of extreme violence and murder. Subject matter may be offensive to some listeners. Discretion advised.
Welcome to another episode of Evil Transgression, your homicide headquarters here in podcasting. I'm Josh, and with me as always, Rex.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, buddy?
Well, I've been better. We had the whole freaking episode recorded. And
this is a part 2 of part 1.
Yeah.
Which, it's not really a part 2, it's take 2.
So just Pro Tools sometimes, I don't understand it. The stupidest crap will happen, and today we get done recording, go back to listen to it, and it sounds like we're robots.
Yeah.
I've restarted the computer, restarted Pro Tools, so now we have to try and redo the whole episode.
And try and make it as amazing as it was.
Dude, it was good, too.
It was probably our best. We'll just say this. It was our best.
It was our best,
yeah.
Yes.
It was an award winner, and no one will ever know.
Nope, because I've already deleted those files. I was that pissed.
He had to take a break, guys.
I did.
He had to walk it off.
I did. Yeah. Now I'm out of breath. I was running up and down the stairs.
Screaming. He went outside and was screaming in the street. The cops are here.
Yes.
Rex got tased. He was throwing a fit.
But yeah, I'm all good now.
So you're getting close to the baby due date. That's pretty fun.
Yep. Third trimester, 28 and a half weeks. Every day, Stacy looks at me and she says, "Is it June yet?" She is just, her feet are swollen up, obviously. I mean, she can only wear sandals. And one of my things I enjoy doing, because the baby kicks the crap out of her now. I mean, you can see it too, obviously.
Yeah, it looks like alien stuff. Like it pushes the belly out. Like
yeah, and they're hard kicks. So I like to put my mouth right up against her stomach and talk and try to get the baby to react. And sometimes she does. Sometimes she kicks her hard.
That's cool because she'll recognize your voice when she comes out.
That is true. She'll
be like, "Oh, it was you."
Well, the one day Stacy was talking about playing music like they do, so baby can hear music. So I decided to play Mo Murda by Bone Thugs and Harmony.
There you go.
She was like, "What are you doing?"
Play all like 90s rap.
Some Dre and Snoop D-O-double-G.
Yeah, sipping on gin and juice.
That's right.
So, but you're missing a point that you told me previously that she's going to try and get you a fake breast so that you can...
Oh, yeah. Since, I'm going to be helping with feeding. I'm going to get one of those fake breasts that you put the bottle in and feed the baby. And then Josh brought up how he would be thirsty too. Yeah. So I'm going to get a second one so he can be on my other side.
Yeah. That way, when I stop over, I can have me some milk too. That'd be awesome.
It would be. Got a little blankie for you and everything.
I'll come over like, "It's time for feeding.
It's milky time."
And you're like, "Stop squeezing on it. It's weird." Rex, can I motorboat you, Rex?
Dude, what movie was that from? Where somebody was wearing one of those? Was it? It wasn't Old School, I don't think. Dude, what was it? It'll come to me eventually, but yeah, they were wearing one of those.
Can you imagine Stacy walking in and I'm motorboating you like, "What are you guys doing?"
She would just join.
She was like, "Oh my gosh, my child's being put through this."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she already said there's a bunch of things I can't say around the baby, so I don't corrupt her mind.
Man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, my first daughter, she's a little bit over 17, so it's been a while.
It's been a gap. There's a gap there.
Yeah. So it's like
Relearning.
starting over. Yeah, exactly.
Relearning.
Yeah.
Relearning what those 2 a.m. feedings are all about.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, you've been dealing with all that. You started a new job.
Yep. That was this last week was my first week there. It's been going really good. Definitely a change of pace from what I was used to because man, every day 7 to 5, 7 to 6, just overloaded.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a little bit more relaxed right now. I'm sure at some point it'll get chaotic too, but it's a nice break. Really cool group of guys that I work with. So
that always makes it a little more enjoyable.
Yes.
When that alarm clock rings for you to get up on those Mondays and you're like, hey, I don't hate my job right now.
Well, a lot of times I hit the snooze in my sleep multiple times. So I usually wake up to Stacy punching me.
Oh, hey, look at my phone. I've got like 38
So do I.
alarm clocks.
Well,
I get the same treatment because it's like, God, that's like the 15th one that's went off.
yes.
Like, well, I'm still tired. I got time.
Well, I had mine set this morning because I had to go out and run some errands, and I kept hitting snooze, and I finally woke up like an hour and a half later than what I wanted to. And my phone was sitting on my chest from me just hitting snooze real quick, and good stuff.
And then, I don't even remember what I was going to say there.
About snoozing, you waking up.
Well, I even resorted to the point of where I was like, all right, man, I'll set my alarm for, I'll leave an hour later, but I'll set my alarm for this time. I'll get up, get dressed, get in the shower, get ready, and then I'll just lay down and relax. So it got to the point where I was getting up, getting in the shower, getting ready, and then I'd lay down and go back to sleep for like 20 minutes. And then you got to redo the whole thing.
Yes. Well, because, I used to always, as soon as I wake up in the morning, drinking coffee, or I love now Ghost energy drinks. I drink those every freaking day.
The Ghost, huh?
Yeah. Oh, man. The apple one and what's the other one? There's a couple. I like the Warhead sour ones. They've got like
they got a bunch of weird ones, like not the goldfish, but the Swedish fish.
Yep, I've had that.
Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, I like those. Those are good. They got the one that I'm not a huge fan of. It's like an orange cream,
like a dreamsicle.
Yeah.
I had a Monster, the Monster version of the dreamsicle yesterday.
Was it dreamy?
It was very good. It was more of a, like, Monster has like that bite to it. You know what I mean? Like, you'll drink it and you're like, man, it's got that snap.
Yep.
That snap.
Snap.
Well, this is more like, it's not, because they have like the juice ones.
Yeah.
Monsters makes like the fruit punch juice that still has the Monster Energy blend in it or whatever. This is more mellow, but it's not the juice. It still has like the carbonation.
Yeah.
It was really good. However, man, I was really jittery, and which is strange because monsters usually have about, I think, like 220 milligrams of caffeine, around there, 220, 230.
Yep.
And I'm used to drinking, my bev of choice now is Bang. Bang
Isn't that 300?
It's 300 milligrams of caffeine, and it's like 10 calories and 0 sugar. So I'm like, oh, that sounds like a healthier option. But then, like, I think to myself, like, 300 milligrams of caffeine really isn't healthy.
A lot.
But my favorite's the Bang cotton candy.
I'm gonna have to try that. What are those, like $2.50 a can? 3?
It depends where you go and get them. I've learned the hard way that don't go to corner stores.
Okay.
Because the vending machine at my work had Bangs in it. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Well, some jackass broke it. And I was getting the Bangs through our vending machine for like $2.50, which is like cheap. That's cheap.
For a vending machine.
Yeah, I was like, $2.50 for a Bang. I can go to the gas station. They're like $3. So somebody, instead, because I normally would stop at the gas station on the way to work and grab me a Bang.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, nah, man, the vending machine at work's got it for $2.50, so I'll just get it there. Showed up and it was broke. I was like, son of a bitch. So I got in the work truck and drove down to the corner store and ended up having to get me a Monster, which I like Monsters. There's certain Monsters that I like. I really like the Gold Ultra, which is like a pineapple-y.
Oh, okay.
It's the zero sugar gold can with like, it's got the braille.
Oh, yeah.
On it, you know what I'm
I've seen them.
I like those ones. I like the white, the ultra white, which is very good as well. So they didn't have Bangs, so I was like, well, I'll just get me one of these Gold Monsters. This is one of my faves. 230 milligrams of caffeine of juice running through my system. So I was like, picked it up, took it to the counter. I paid $4.50 for a Monster. And it wasn't that big boy can either. It was the normal can.
What?
Yeah.
That's brutal.
So don't buy your over the counter drugs.
Dude, that's wow.
Store.
Yeah, that's way too much. Oh, another one I just thought of with Ghost. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but the popsicle where it's red, white, and blue.
Oh, that's the Bomb Pop, man.
Yeah, Bomb Pop.
Yeah.
Ghost has a Bomb Pop flavor too.
I like Bomb Pops.
So delicious.
I really like Bomb Pops, but I got to be careful
Bomb.
eating popsicles at my house because my dogs think they get popsicles.
Oh, okay.
Like if hey, I haven't grown out of them yet.
Yep.
You know those ices.
Yep.
That comes in plastic tubes.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So you can get like 30 of them for like $2 at Kroger's or whatever. Well, I always have those in the freezer out in the garage.
Yep.
So if I pop one of those open in the house, it's like some for me, and then I got to break off a piece and give it to the dogs. So my dogs eat ices. They're special.
See, I have the same problem with Stacy. Every time I try to eat a
she's
gonna punch me when she hears this one.
Classic. So speaking of classic.
Yep.
We're gonna do a little bit of a classic episode today. We're gonna do a story.
All right.
And the reason we're going to do a story is because the one issue that I wanted to talk about today, I think it would be best served if I let myself marinate on it because I'm still pretty pissed off about it.
Yeah, me too.
This is the school shooting in Nashville.
Yep.
And my issue with it isn't so much who did it or that. I mean, we can go into a million different scenarios that's probably going to get us canceled, or
yes,
if you can cancel a podcast that's small enough to cancel.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, would we know if we got canceled or not? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I just don't want us to get in a political debate,
right?
Because this is what I will say on it, and it'll probably get us in trouble anyways. But still, so the female that did this shooting, and like I said, I don't want to get too far into it, but the female that did this shooting was what they're saying is transgender. She was identifying as a male, or starting to identify as a male, and shot up a Christian school.
Yep.
That's its own story that will get you fired up and pissed off.
Yep.
Just for the fact that someone can go in and kill 9-year-old kids, let alone the 3 adults they killed. They killed 3 9-year-old kids.
Right.
That can piss you off and cause a whole nother thing. But when it's someone from the LGBTQ community, LGBTQ plus or whatever, I mean, when it's somebody from that group, you have an idiot in the White House that comes out days after this happens and says, the LGBTQ community shapes the Americas.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, bro, I don't think that's the right thing to say right after you're going through this situation. I don't think that's...
Yeah, and then...
the timing, bro. Timing's everything.
Especially just bringing up ice cream again.
Yeah.
Right after it.
Yeah, you come down to address the shooting. Now, granted, they were there for something other than they had people in the White House that was there for some kind of event, but you come down and right after the shooting happens and you're going to address it, and the first thing you say is, I like ice cream.
Right.
I like chocolate chip ice cream, Jenny's chocolate chip ice cream, and I got a whole freezer of it upstairs. I'm not kidding, man.
Yeah, him and Pelosi.
It's just, man, somebody's got a comedian needs to get, because comedians know timing.
Oh, yeah.
They need to get in his ear and say, look, dude, you got to work on your timing, because guess what? That probably wasn't the time to be joking.
No. Man, that reminds me. There was something that happened a few weeks ago, too. And he turned around and flipped it and said it was during Trump's administration and then laughed about it. And it was, I think it was like it involved death. And again, he was laughing about it.
Yeah.
I just, dude's ate up.
he's ate up. He's ate up with something.
Yeah.
And we're just in trouble as a society, as a, not just a country anymore, as a world, as a civilization. We're just in trouble.
Well, like we were saying, I do remember this from when we recorded on round one, the movie Idiocracy that we've brought up before. Like, we are really living that right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yep.
And you'll say, hey, this is what really happens nowadays. And years ago it was made as, as a joke. Now it's like a documentary.
Yep. Here soon we are going to see farmers using Gatorade to grow their crops.
Get your electrolytes. Wow. Yeah. So I didn't want to, we touched on it there a little bit, but trust me, if I get too far into that story, the shooting in Memphis or in Nashville,
you're going to get fired up.
It's just not going to be a good episode for us.
Nope.
So we're going to kick it old school today. We're going to do a story. It still will piss you off.
Oh, of course.
Because we're going to talk about Lester the child molester.
Yep.
That wasn't his nickname, but it is now.
Oh, it definitely is.
Because everybody always hears Lester the child molester. So this guy
is after this guy
fits the bill. Let's just kick it old school, man.
Let's do it.
So buckle up, Evil Mob, as we discuss Lester Eubanks. In the 1960s, Mansfield, Ohio was a great place to live. It was a small town where everyone knew each other and was also seen to be a very safe place. For 14-year-old Mary Ellen Diener, it was home. Mary Ellen was a happy and healthy young lady who was a good student, a member of the school newspaper, and even a member of the school glee club. She was one of 7 children. Mary Ellen never got into trouble and was known to take very good care of her younger brothers and sisters. Mary Ellen had dreams of becoming either a nun or a lab tech one day. Now, the children, because they were growing up in a single-parent home, the mom was out there trying to make ends meet.
Right.
The kids had their own chores to do. The boys would collect trash and mop the floors. The girls would do the dishes and wash and fold the clothes. On the night of Saturday, November 13th, 1965, Mary Ellen and her 12-year-old sister Brenda, who were in charge of doing the laundry that evening, had washed all the clothes but were unable to dry them because the family's dryer was broken.
That always sucks.
Yes. So instead, they took a taxi and took their wet clothes to the half-hour laundromat, which was on Spring Mill Street in Mansfield. Their mother, Cassie Diener Jones, was comfortable with them doing that at that time of night because their grandmother, Love Williams, actually lived right beside the laundromat. She lives next door to the laundromat.
Yep.
That way, if something happened or if they needed, an adult, they could go right next door to grandma.
Run over to her, yep.
Now, just keep in mind, this is the 60s, and a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old girls took a taxi to the laundromat at night.
Yeah, it definitely couldn't do that today.
You're not at all going to do it. Number one, you have to call Uber.
Right.
And I don't think a 14-year-old can take an Uber. I don't know.
Man, I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw a taxi.
I can't either. I mean, you used to see those like airport taxis, blue ones.
Oh, yeah.
Somalians driving them like.
Yep.
Yeah. But
my favorite was we were in high school. I don't know who was doing this, but All of a sudden, I look out the window. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but I know where you're going.
So I look out the window. There's a damn taxi just sitting in front of our house, and I go out there. He's like, "Yeah, you called for a taxi?" No, I did not.
Somebody ordered a taxi to your
house. It gets better. So then, all of a sudden, pizza shows up, and I'm like, "I didn't order pizza." So I call them, and the lady got mad at me. She was like, "Well, you shouldn't be having your friends pranking you." I'm like, "Lady, like I have control over what's going on right now." She was really mad that they had to throw away 2 medium pizzas or whatever it was.
She said you should have just left them here.
Right, exactly.
We would have ate them.
I definitely would have. I love me some pizza.
Taxi in front of your house.
Yeah, taxi and pizza.
So yeah, we've got a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old taking a taxi to finish the laundry. But 1960s Mansfield, it wasn't thought of. Wasn't thought of being.
Yeah, big deal.
Yeah. So Mary Ellen and Brenda actually get to the laundromat around 10:30 p.m. So for perspective, we're talking this is nighttime.
Yeah.
This is this is past bedtime for most kids.
Late. Yeah.
So they start putting the clothes in one of the dryers and realize they don't have enough change to operate the dryer.
Mm-hmm.
So Mary Ellen tells her sister Brenda that she's going to go next door to Grandma's house to see if Grandma's got some change. That way they can do what they got to do and get back home. But Mary Ellen tells Brenda to stay put, keep an eye on the clothes. She's just going to run next door. She goes, comes back, says Grandma didn't have any change. She had also tried a nearby gas station, which unbelievably did not have change either.
Which that doesn't make sense at all. Today, maybe I could understand that because everybody seems to be getting away from cash, but not in the 60s.
Yeah. But still, how much do you think it was to run the dryers in 1960?
Oh, man.
Maybe $1? Maybe 4 quarters?
Yeah.
4 quarters. Would the gas station doesn't have 4 quarters? I don't know. So Mary Ellen asked Brenda to go, step outside, walk to the corner to look down the street because there's another laundromat just down the road that she was going to walk to if it's open. So Brenda, even though she's afraid of the dark, walks outside, goes to the corner. She looks down, sees that the other laundromat's lights are on.
Uh-huh.
And as she's coming back, she passes a man standing on the corner. This guy's wearing green army clothes and had a weird look on his face. Red flag number 1.
Oh, yeah. And because these are, a couple blocks from one another?
Yeah. But she didn't go like the full distance. She goes just a little bit down the block to see if this is open.
Well,
but still, she passes this guy.
Well, that reminds me, and keep in mind, this was the 80s. I was 7, 8 years old. It would be well after dark. It would be late. And my mom would be like, "Hey, Rex, go get me one of them there Heath candy bars at the store." And it was like a 5 to 10 minute walk. My mom doesn't sound like that at all.
I was going to say, it just, you made your mom sound like she was a barefoot trailer park girl. And she is not, but it definitely adds flavor to the story.
It does.
So I think we should keep it that way.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, I just seen your mom as barefoot, like dirty barefoot feet. Like she's pregnant, smoking a Winston.
Right.
Give me a Heath bar, Rex.
Winston's. Oh, man.
Do they even still make Winston's?
I don't know, man. How about those Virginia Slims? Are those
no
still
vagina slimes? Oh, Lord. Yes, you might have one of those Virginia Slims, long-ass skinny cigarettes.
Dude, I knew somebody, her mom smoked those. I do remember that.
It's like, I just want a little bit of nicotine.
Right. Yeah. Oh.
So Brenda comes back to the first laundromat, after passing the weird-looking guy with army clothes on, and tells Mary Ellen, the other laundromat is open. So Mary Ellen says, "Okay, Brenda, you're going to stay here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to walk down to the other laundromat and get change and come back and we can finish doing what we got to do."
Right.
Because it's only a 5-minute walk between the two laundromats. Well, when Mary Ellen doesn't come back, Brenda starts to worry and goes next door to her grandmother's house and tells her that Mary Ellen, went to get change and never came back. So the grandma tells Brenda, "Stay put. I'm going to go see where Mary Ellen's at. She's been gone for a while now. So she should have been back.
Oh, yeah.
So at 12:45 a.m., a person living near the second laundromat calls police and reports seeing someone laying on a sidewalk behind an empty house, a vacant house.
Which I'm surprised somebody was even up at that time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So officers respond and find the body of Mary Ellen. She's at this point dead.
Mm-hmm.
At the same moment the officers arrive and find her, the grandmother, who's walking to the second laundromat, turns the corner and sees the police cars. And she tells, the police ask her, what's going on? She's like, well, my granddaughter's missing. She lets the cops know what's going on. They put two and two together and ask the grandmother to view the body. And it was, of course, Mary Ellen.
Terrible.
She had been shot to death. Her skirt had been pulled up, and it appeared that someone had tried to take her clothes off. And beside her, on the ground, of all terrible situations, is a handful of coins. So she got her change.
Yeah.
So later that morning, the detectives come to Mary Ellen's house to inform, her mom and the rest of the family of her murder. Shortly after the murder, the police are able to determine what caliber of gun was used in the murder, and that's their first lead. So with that lead, they start to travel around to the various stores that sells guns in Mansfield, which leads them to the Diamond Hardware store on South Diamond Street.
Well, and yeah, just like when we were recording the first time, that kind of blew me away. A hardware store. You definitely would not see that nowadays.
Right. You don't go to Lowe's for a 32 caliber revolver anymore. But, the 60s, that was a normal thing. You go to a hardware store, you can get a shotgun, you can get a shovel.
Yeah.
You can get rope and tape, and you got a murder kit.
That's true.
But so the police are at the Diamond Hardware store. They asked to see, the ledger to find out what weapons were sold recently and who they were sold to. And they come across a purchase less than a month earlier by a 22-year-old man named Lester Eubanks, who was a former Air Force medic. The gun that they find is, the caliber matches. It was a 32 caliber bullet that killed Mary Ellen.
Right.
So now they have a lead here. They got at least a person of interest.
Yep.
So the police start searching for Lester Eubanks, and they find out that there's an informant that tells them that they had actually seen Lester Eubanks in that area where the murder occurred on that night. So now you have more evidence. Okay, you have this guy who had purchased this weapon that matches the caliber of the bullet that killed this girl. And now we have someone saying, yeah, this guy was in that area.
Yeah.
That's adding up. So they know that Eubanks actually lives down the street from where this happened. And, the family was aware of him, but they didn't know really who he was. They didn't know him well enough. They all thought he was weird, thought he was a loner. And he was weird and a loner because he always walked around town with nunchucks. He was just walking around town, flipping them around like Bruce Lee, apparently. He's one of those dudes.
Oh, man. Terrible.
So Lester Eubanks had actually grown up in Mansfield, and he was known to be a sharp-looking man. He was well-liked and could apparently easily fit in anywhere, nothing out of the norm, other than he was a nunchucker.
Yeah.
But he was also considered to be a sexual predator.
Oh, go figure.
He had actually been arrested twice in the past for sex offenses. One time in 1959, when he was only 16 years old, he assaulted a 12-year-old girl. But fortunately, she was able to escape and get away from him. And that got him probation. They're like, oh, you tried to sexually assault a 12-year-old girl. There's some probation for you.
Should have been more.
And he also admitted to grabbing another girl after a high school dance, but he let her go when she screamed and he panicked and she got away there. And at the time of the murder, Lester Eubanks was actually out on bond for attempted rape.
Oh.
He was just released from jail 2 weeks earlier than when the murder happened.
See, again, he should not have been out.
Absolutely not. That crime, he had attacked a 18-year-old waitress who was working alone, like when she was trying to leave, evidently, or no, she was working in the restaurant. And he walks in and grabs her by the throat and pushes her into the bathroom and threatens to kill her, and he chokes her until she passes out. And
so she was in there by herself?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this guy is so bad as far as his sex crimes goes that the former Mansfield police captain actually says that Eubanks should not have been out of jail because of the seriousness of his prior offenses.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is a guy that shouldn't have been on the street, but he was. And unfortunately, a 14-year-old girl walks by him at 11:30 at night. Not good.
No.
And Eubanks actually lived in an apartment close to the two laundromats. So he's from that area anyways. The police do a search warrant. They end up finding a paper bag that has shell casings and bullets in it that match what were found in Mary Ellen's body.
Yep.
And they find his .32 caliber revolver that he used in this crime. They also add the fact that there's footprints found at the scene that match his shoes that's at his apartment as well.
Oh, yeah, so they've got him.
I mean, he's dead to rights.
Oh, yeah.
So around 5:45 p.m. on that Sunday afternoon, officers located Lester Eubanks as he walked home from church.
What?
Lester Eubanks was walking home from church after murdering a 14-year-old girl.
Unbelievable.
So they pick him up, take him to the station, start interviewing him. And originally he denies everything. He says that his gun was stolen.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, even though they find it in his apartment.
Yeah,
says,
it was stolen.
Stolen.
Idiot.
But eventually, he's confronted with the evidence and he decides to confess. So his confession is detailed. They know they got the right dude because he knows all the details to what happened. And he says that on the night of the murder, he went out to a nightclub with a local prostitute.
Huh.
And while he was out there on the dance floor, he's shaking it and ends up dropping his gun. And several people see this gun fall out, so they know he had a gun. And shortly afterwards, being at the club for a while, his date leaves with another man to, quote, do a little business.
Little transaction.
Yeah. And before she leaves, he tells her, he's going to check in on her in an hour to make sure she's okay. Well, Lester Eubanks' date, the old prostituter, sex worker, whatever you want to call her, lived across from the second laundromat. So after walking around town, his girl's done shacked up with another dude for an hour or so. He's still waiting for her. At the time, Mary Ellen leaves the first laundromat and walks by. And he said that he tried talking to her, but she wanted nothing to do with him. Mama raised her right.
Oh, yeah.
Don't speak to creepy nunchuck dudes.
Yep.
So he tries to spit his game to her when she comes back by, and she raises a bottle of soda that she was drinking, and he claims that he wasn't sure what she was going to do. He thought, man, she's going to hit me with this bottle of soda.
Oh, we're talking about a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. So his version is he blocked her movements because he's a nunchuck freaking Larry.
Yeah.
And on an impulse, grabs her, blocks it, grabs her, and drags her 150 feet behind the vacant house where he attempts to rape her. But she started to scream. He panicked, put his hand over his mouth, and then shot her twice and left her for dead.
Wow.
But it gets worse. According to Eubanks, he leaves the scene, goes around the corner to his apartment, empties the bullets and the spent shells into the paper bag where they found them during the search warrant, cleans himself up, and tries to calm down. But then he gets to thinking about it, and he's not sure if Mary Ellen is dead or not. So he gets dressed. He's planning on going back downtown to go dancing with his lady friend again.
Yeah.
But he's got this in the back of his mind, like, man, she might not be dead. She can recognize me or whatever. So about 45 minutes after the first, the initial attack, he's going back towards downtown, comes back across the crime scene. And this is where it's real bad. Mary Ellen is still alive. And she's just writhing in agony.
Yeah.
She tries to call out for help. And he panics again, thinking, oh my God, she's still alive. She can recognize me. What am I going to do? Picks up a paving brick that's in the alley and bashes her head in.
That is terrible.
Once again, leaves her, quote, left to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she might have had a chance.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
45 minutes. Now, granted, we don't know really where she shot. For some reason, I think I heard that she was shot in the head.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, she's still alive at this moment.
Yeah.
There's still a chance, possibly. But instead, he bashes her head in with a paving brick.
Brutal.
Leaves her there again. And you know what he does? He goes, picks up his prostitute friend, and they go downtown dancing.
Disgusting.
So that's his story. So police are like, well, what did you do it for? To which Lester Eubanks says, quote, it wasn't my intention. I didn't have any intention to hurt her at all. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't have no intention. I just was going to rape her and shoot her.
Yeah. He's full of it.
So Mansfield is absolutely rocked by this crime.
Oh, I bet.
This is like out of the norm. Like this doesn't happen in Mansfield, Ohio in the 60s. The police charge him with first-degree murder and attempted rape.
Good.
He pleads not guilty by reason of insanity.
Oh, whatever.
In May 1966, he went on trial in the Richland County Courthouse. The entire family shows up. Mary Ellen's family shows up to show support, basically let the world know that, she was loved and she, they cared for her.
Yeah.
And which causes this whole, oh man, it's not fair. Look at all these people showing up. I'm not going to get a fair trial, blah, blah, blah. Well, Eubanks' attorney claims that he had a mental defect that caused him to be impulsive.
Oh, give me a break.
A psychiatrist who examined him agreed to this, saying that he had poor conscious control over his behavior. You think?
Right.
Eubanks himself also testified in this, which is a sign of being a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
But he testifies and says that after he shot her, he took her pulse and discovered she was dead, so that's why he couldn't call for help. Also, there was no phones nearby.
That makes no sense.
Yeah. We're talking the 60s. I'm sure there's payphones on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't live in the 60s, but hey, in the 80s, there was. So
exactly. Well, and for him to say, "Oh, I shot her, checked her pulse, she was dead," but he told
he already confessed to the police that she was still alive, came back and bashed her head.
Right.
So I mean, we don't think that you have a mental defect. We just think you're stupid.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And this is what drives me nuts about psychiatrists and when we start talking about doctors examining people's, well, they have this or they have that. They have poor conscious control over their behavior. Well, no shit.
Right.
If you kill somebody, you have poor conscious control over your behavior.
Definitely.
Especially if you kill a 14-year-old girl that you were attempting to rape.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got poor decision making. So based on Eubanks' confession in the courtroom, on May 25th, a jury convicted him of first-degree murder while attempting to commit rape. They actually had to deliberate on this for 10 hours.
Which, that I don't understand either. That should have been 10 seconds.
Yeah, 10 freaking hours. 10 hours. He killed a 14-year-old girl that he was trying to rape.
Yeah. They found all the evidence.
10 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe the first 9 hours and 55 minutes, they were like eating lunch. I don't know.
Possibility.
Or they're like, man, we don't want to go home yet. Let's just drag this out for a little bit.
Yeah, another day off work.
Because I don't know how you take 10 hours to decide, this dude's guilty.
Nope.
But they eventually come back 10 hours later and say he is guilty. And he was sentenced to death.
Nice.
Mary Ellen's family, which was they were present during this, is actually happy because they think everything's over now. Put this dude to death.
Mhm.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Now we can go back to living our lives, even though we have a missing piece, life will never be the same for them. But
Yeah.
so Eubanks is sent to the Ohio State Penitentiary, which is located in downtown Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer there.
No.
It is now home to the Columbus Blue Jackets
Yes, it is.
and Nationwide Arena,
Mm-hmm.
which, like I said before, in the episode we tried to record was, I really think the Columbus Blue Jackets missed an opportunity on that it shouldn't have been called Nationwide Arena and they shouldn't have been the Blue Jackets. I feel like they could have done something with the pen
Yeah.
where instead of calling it Nationwide Arena, it could have been called the Pen. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we're live at the Pen, blah, blah, blah. I
Uh-huh.
think
That would have been cool. Yeah.
But instead they
Failed.
went a different route. Anyways, Lester Eubanks, Ohio State Penitentiary. The inmates in there at the time did not like him. They thought he was cocky. They thought he was opinionated and thought he had an attitude. So people don't really care for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is basically a loner in prison and spends most of his time writing and painting. Which he was a self-taught painter at the time.
Like Hunter Biden.
Yeah. And death row prisoners at the time are allowed to do this stuff. They're allowed to paint and draw and do whatever.
Yeah.
And at one point, he's actually featured in the Columbus Dispatch, which is a paper that still is out there today. They do a profile on prison artists, and they heralded him as, quote, the best of the death row painters.
That is ridiculous.
This dude's getting famous
Yeah.
in prison for murdering a 14-year-old girl. On 3 separate occasions, Eubanks' execution was pushed back for unknown reasons. Finally, in 1972, right when you think he's getting ready to get the old chair, the death penalty was abolished in the United States. The U.S. Supreme Court found that the death penalty was administered in a, quote, arbitrary and capricious method. It's just mean.
Oh, so mean.
Let's never mind the fact that he tried to rape and murdered a
murder.
14-year-old girl. It's just mean. You shouldn't do that.
The choices they make sometimes.
As a result, Eubanks, along with all other Ohio death row prison inmates, had their sentences set aside and commuted to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The family of Mary Ellen is just devastated.
Oh, yeah,
as they should
I would be too.
Because they think this is over. But old Eubanks, who's been featured in the newspaper,
now gets to live.
Now, granted, life in prison without the possibility of parole does sound rough. A lot of people prefer it. They think, it's more punishment or whatever. We could debate that all day.
Right.
It's not so bad for Lester, and I'm going to get into that. So after the death penalty is abolished, Eubanks was put into general population. And Eubanks could actually put on this whole, hey, I'm a good guy thing when he really wasn't. And that's going to gain him some favor with the prison guards and stuff.
Wow.
They say that he was a smooth talker who's able to win the guards over.
What?
They actually give him letters of recommendation and allow him to join the Prisoner's Honor Program, where they award him with honor prisoner status.
That's ridiculous. A dude that should have been dead.
Yeah. So at the time, there's no national reform type movement taking place in the United States. The prison administrators try their own new approaches to rehabilitate inmates and prepare them for life on the outside. Now, why we're preparing a guy who's in prison for life without the possibility of parole for life on the outside blows my mind.
Yeah.
This is a failure on Ohio's justice system during this time. So it's stupid to me. Well, Eubanks actually becomes eligible for the honor furlough program that allows him, under certain circumstances, to venture outside of the prison.
See, that pisses me off.
Sometimes they're even allowed to drive trucks from prison to prison, picking up materials and things like that. Sometimes they're permitted outside of the presence of a guard to go run errands.
Unbelievable.
On some occasions, they're even allowed to attend OSU football games and even went to the Ohio State Fair.
Wow.
Living it up as Lester Eubanks.
Sounds like it.
Now, according to prosecuting attorney Ron O'Brien, who is still to this day active in our court systems, Ron O'Brien.
Yeah.
The rationale behind those programs at the time was to reward prisoners for their good behavior. And this is going to help both the prison guards and to help control the population to incentivize good conduct. If you're good, you can go to the Buckeye games.
Yeah. Give everybody a participation trophy.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're talking about a murderer.
Right.
A murderer of a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And a sexual predator.
Yep.
Eubanks was involved in several art shows where he won awards. I told you, Lester's living it up. But, 8 years after the murder of Mary Ellen Deemer on December 7th, 1973, Lester Eubanks, along with 3 other prisoners in the program, were allowed by the Ohio Department of Corrections to go on a Christmas shopping trip.
What?
To the Great Southern Shopping Center in Columbus. You know where the Great Southern Shopping Center is? High Street.
Wasn't that just, High Street?
Yeah.
Just north of 270?
Yeah.
By a couple miles? Yeah.
The prisoners were dressed in civilian attire and given money for the trip. Lester is going Christmas shopping with money. Dressed like a civilian.
So stupid.
They were dropped off by prison officials at 10 a.m. And they were allowed to go into the shopping center for 4 hours and buy presents for their families. They were told, report back at a specific place by 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than staying in a group, they were allowed to leave the guards and be on their own, shopping among the public.
That's insane.
Is this not a terrible idea?
Definitely terrible.
Does no one look at this in the 70s and go, that's probably not a good idea?
Oh, I know.
These guys had murdered people. Maybe we shouldn't just let them do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're in prison for a reason.
Oh yeah.
Let's not do this.
No.
But apparently, we were a lot stupider in 1973.
I don't know. It might be worse now.
We haven't learned a thing.
No, we haven't.
So 2 p.m. comes by and Lester Eubanks never arrives back at the meeting place.
Oh, I'm so surprised.
He had simply walked away. Guards searched the mall, but were unable to find him. And now we have a child murderer running around town.
Yeah.
After the escape, the policy of letting inmates go shopping unescorted was changed.
Oh.
But the damage is already done.
Too late.
Lester Eubanks is gone with the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Later that day, the family of Mary Ellen received a phone call that the sheriff called and told her that Lester Eubanks had escaped, which you can imagine.
Oh, devastated, I'm sure.
How devastated Cassie, the mom, is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now you can only imagine, this is Christmas time.
Yeah.
This is Christmas time. You can imagine how devastated the family is and how traumatized they are. This guy's escaped. We don't know where he's at. We don't know where he's coming. He might be coming back here.
Right.
But no one knows how Eubanks escaped from the immediate area of the mall, which, hey, if you're not watching me, I don't understand how it's a freaking a puzzle to figure out.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he just walked right out there, jumped on a bus, and was gone.
Uh-huh.
But it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. Although they believe that Eubanks actually planned the escape and made some kind of arrangements in advance,
Oh, I'm sure he did.
They looked at his visitation list and see that he had visitors showing up about once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And they find that he went from having visitors about once a month to having them every week.
Oh, huh.
So they're like, well, wait a minute, something's building up here.
Yeah.
So they believe that the escape was pre-planned and that the people that came and visited him were actually involved in him getting away.
I can see that.
Well, once again, hey, what are we looking at? I mean, it's a red flag now.
Oh, yeah.
But at no point should they have ever been like, hey, why don't you go Christmas
shopping? Shopping on your own.
Yeah, bro. Hey, go pick your dad out a nice tie.
Mm-hmm.
You know who doesn't have Christmas? Mary Ellen Deemer.
Exactly.
But Lester, you should go Christmas shopping.
He was living it up.
So it's been theorized that some of Lester's own family supported him and helped him escape. So the theory now is that the dad actually knows his whereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
Eubanks earned the trust of the guards and became an honor inmate, and then he manipulated them to where he could, get the chance to escape. But to keep him hid, he's going to need help. So this guy's basically, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. They've searched for him. They did an extensive manhunt with no leads. 20 years after his escape, this dude's like gone with the wind.
Mm-hmm.
They've searched into the National Crime Information Center to see if any records have come back on maybe they've captured him under a different name or and they discovered that there's nothing in that database. So the federal warrant that they had out for him for escape, they removed it. That would mean if he was ever stopped for a traffic stop or something like that, he'd get let go. And they believe that that's a clerical error or lack of follow up. Yeah, that's happened. So he may have been pulled over for speeding, and instead of them being like, "Hey, this is Lester Eubanks, you're going back to prison, son," they're like,
drove off.
Well, have a good day, sir.
Right.
We'll just give you a warning.
Mm-hmm. Man, our system sucks.
So they fixed that error in the system so where it's supposed to, it goes nationwide now to where if he is caught up, that he'll be put in jail or whatever.
Yeah.
In 1994, an episode on America's Most Wanted aired with the story about Eubanks. On the night that was aired, a tip was called in that said someone had picked up Eubanks from the mall on the day of his escape and drove him to Michigan. They also received a call from a woman who said that she knew Eubanks and said that she used to run around with him in Los Angeles in the 70s. She also said that he ended up living with Kay Banks, who was the widow of his cousin Daryl. This guy's all over the place. In October 28th, 1994, Los Angeles detectives went to this home that was owned by Kay Banks and met with her. And fearing that she would be charged with harboring a fugitive, she agreed to cooperate and said that Eubanks had lived with her in Los Angeles. However, he was no longer living there. She said that she was originally from Ohio and had met Daryl there, Lester's cousin.
Yeah.
And that he was a popular singer in Detroit, Michigan. Sadly, he was killed there later. She ended up in L.A. and established a relationship with Lester while he was still in prison, became his pen pal, and said that he basically walked away from the mall in Ohio, made his way to Detroit, stayed there for a few weeks to see if he was going to be, chased or they were going to come after him, to see how, diligently they're going to be looking for him. He got a job painting houses in a community there.
Wow.
So 3 weeks after the escape, someone gave him money to take a Greyhound from Michigan to California. Once the bus arrived there, it was pulled over by law enforcement, He thought they were coming for him. However, it turned out that they were looking for illegal fruit being brought across state lines. Had him.
Wow.
They had him, but they were more concerned about illegal fruit.
Right.
We had law enforcement looking for illegal fruit when we had a child murderer on the bus. Like, where's that goddamn illegal apple?
Yeah.
You gonna come up off of them apples?
I tell some of the stuff that they worry about.
Yeah. So Lester Eubanks gets to L.A., assumes the name Victor Young, gets a hunting license under that name, which he uses as his ID because you don't have to give your fingerprints for hunting ID. And he's basically smart. He knows how to stay off the police radar. So he's basically living it out in L.A. under the name Victor Young, staying with Kay. And in 1975, she tells him that she gets the phone call from the FBI and said that they were asking about him, and that's all it took. He disappears that day. She never sees him again. But before leaving, he tells her that he's going to head north. So she tells detectives about this mattress factory in California where he had worked in manufacturing. They go to that location, check into it. The owner said that Eubanks had worked there until either 1985 or 1986. And she said that he worked hard, kept quiet, rode a bicycle to work, and he was just a modern, great citizen. But he also, she noticed that he would purposefully avoid being photographed during work events. Please don't take my picture.
Red flag.
After that, he was known to have lived in Northern California for some time. In 1996, they ended their investigation because there were no more leads to follow. Oh, well, who knows where he went, you know what I'm saying?
Idiots.
In 2003, the case was looked into again by Ohio State Highway Patrol, which they had not heard of it before, but they decided to look into Lester's father, Mose Eubanks. Mose was a minister and was the only known relative of Lester Eubanks that was still alive or still living in Mansfield at the time. So they go out to talk to Mose, and he would talk about anything except Lester. That's what he told him. He said, I'll talk about anything but Lester. Said he'd spent time working with prisoners, helping them to turn their lives around. He then said, there's nothing that can be done to bring that girl back. This guy's making these comments to the police.
Wow.
This is Lester Eubanks' dad telling the police, there's nothing that can be done to bring that girl back. You're a minister, bro.
Dude, I would
and your son is a piece of trash.
Yeah, he needed smacked.
So the lieutenant that's questioning says, do you think justice was done in this case with your son? And Mose responded by saying, people change and go on and start new lives, and I pray for Lester every day, and that's all I'm going to say about him.
Wow.
But they're almost certain that he knew where Lester was.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Sometime later, a Mansfield detective was talking to an informant who said that same summer she had been at Moses' house, and while she was there, a phone call comes in. Their phone rings. Mose excuses himself, goes talks on the phone. When he returns, he told her that he was on his phone. He was on the phone with his son in Alabama who was taking a break from painting a house. So, now basically Lester's in Alabama.
Yeah.
So the police get a subpoena to get Mo's phone records, discovered that there were several calls in that time frame coming and going to a center for troubled youth. A man matching Lester's description was working at the center at this time. The man did not have a driver's license and did not drive. His social security number was determined to be false. So they're pretty sure this was Lester Eubanks.
I would say so.
Unfortunately, the man had left prior to this discovery. He was no longer working there. In 2015, a cold case unit took over the Eubanks case, and they learned from a source that Eubanks was in Mansfield in 2003 and 2010. In 2012, Mose, the father, had died, and Eubanks reportedly returned for the funeral.
What?
An associate of Lester Eubanks told the deputies that you're never going to catch him. This leads them to believe that the associate knows where Lester is and that he's still alive.
Yeah.
Lester's siblings, refuse to cooperate with any new investigation, even though it's more than likely that they know his whereabouts as well.
Oh, I bet.
But they believe that Lester Eubanks is now married, has children who have no idea that he's a fugitive. In July of 2018, they started working to get Lester Eubanks on the U.S. Marshals most wanted list. On December 7th of 2018, the 45th anniversary of his escape, he was officially added to the list, the most wanted list. They say that the people on the list are, quote, the worst of the worst, and they hope that someone will recognize Lester Eubanks and lead to his capture. In 2019, a man believed to be Lester Eubanks' biological son agreed to give his DNA to U.S. Marshals. He believes that his late mother, had been raped by Lester Eubanks.
Oh, wow.
They want to compare it to samples taken from unsolved crimes around the country in hopes that it will offer hints to his new identity or location.
Yeah.
However, the FBI policy prohibits searches of their database using a relative's DNA profile.
Really?
I mean, he's still on the loose, bro.
I can't. That is crazy.
Still has family in Mansfield, relatives that live in Mansfield.
Wow.
They believe, when he escaped, he was 5'11", weighed 175 pounds. They believe, he's still around that, has a mole under his left eye, has a large scar burn on his upper right arm. It is about 1.5 inches long and wraps all the way around his arm. It's pretty thick and identifiable. He also has a 3-inch scar on the same arm, and he is left-handed. He's also, keep in mind, an extremely talented painter.
Oh, yes.
So we might solve this case.
Yeah.
And if we do, I'd like the first crack at him.
Oh, yeah. Man, because we didn't get this far when we recorded the first time, so I did not expect it to end this way.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's loose. Just running around. I mean, he's old. He's old.
Yeah.
He's old as can be now. But the U.S. Marshals Service is offering a reward for any information that leads to his arrest in case you run across him.
Well, hopefully somebody finally gets to him.
Yeah. I don't care if he's 92 and we pull up on him and everybody's like, he wouldn't hurt a fly now. I would beat him with a rubber hose.
Yep.
I would beat him to death.
Yes.
But that's just me. I'm not in charge of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have let him go Christmas shopping.
No, definitely. Me neither.
I mean, this guy's going to Buckeyes games, the Ohio State Fair, and Christmas shopping. And then one day he's like, see ya.
Yeah.
And then we look like Barney Fife, like, what do we do?
Oh, yeah.
What do we do? Where'd it go?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And your mom comes out in her barefoot like, Rex, go get me a Heath bar. Oh, Cheryl the Barrel.
Yes.
So that's the story of Lester Eubanks and the murder of Mary Ellen Deemer.
Crazy.
I mean, our justice system is
garbage.
Justice system, our prison system. I don't know,
all
man.
of it. All of it right now.
And I wish I could say it's gotten better.
No,
it hasn't.
No,
it hasn't.
Yeah.
So what do you got for me?
All right, go to our Facebook page, give us a like. Any comments, questions, or ideas, you can email us at eviltransgression@gmail.com.
Definitely send us some love on our Facebook page.
Yes.
We had a website. We've talked about it before. Still dead.
Yeah.
It's dead. GoDaddy can suck it.
No, definitely.
You can suck it, GoDaddy.
Suck it good.
But yeah. But we have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We have a TikTok that we never do anything on.
I know. Well,
we use it to look at videos of like special stuff.
yeah.
Like if you could see our search history, they put us in jail. We wouldn't be allowed to go to Christmas shopping.
Nope.
But hit us up, man.
Yeah.
Hit us up on Facebook or all that good fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We know it took a while to get another episode out. It's just been
hectic
for sure.
Absolutely hectic. So
that's
bear with us, man. Yeah. That's why I wanted to do a classic episode today. Try and give them a little taste of the old school evil transgression.
Right.
Hopefully you guys liked it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
let us know.
Bounce back and forth every once in a while, and I just knew that we were going to get in trouble if I talked about current events, and I didn't want to get in trouble.
No.
So I was like, I'll hit them with what they really love,
the classics,
making jokes about Lester the child molester,
exactly,
and the fact that he got to walk away from a shopping mall.
Yeah.
Like, wrap your head around that. I don't want to dive back into it, but imagine being at home. And it's hard to put yourself in this position because thank the Lord, we're fortunate enough to never have to go through losing a family member to murder.
Yeah,
I mean, thankfully, because that's terrible. It's the absolute worst. It's the worst thing you could possibly go through.
Yeah.
But imagine being at home during Christmas time, and you've dealt with this loss. You have this hole in your family.
Yeah.
But you have the at least the comfort of knowing that the person responsible is behind bars.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they didn't know about all the freedom he had behind bars, but hopefully you had the comfort of the person responsible for taking our child away, or our loved one, is being held responsible for it. So it's Christmas time, and you get the phone rings, you answer it, and they say, "Hey, this dude just walked away."
Yeah,
and I know the first thing whoever answered the phone is thinking, how?
Yeah, right.
How did they just walk away? You can't just walk away from prison.
Nope.
Well, you see, we had him out Christmas shopping because he's been really nice. We've let him go to the fair. We let him go to football games, but we had him out Christmas shopping and he just didn't come back. Like, imagine the rage that you
Yes, I would be so pissed.
I'd be the next one in cuffs.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm going down, like, whose idea is this? Because me and you were fist fighting.
Yep.
I don't know. I get fired up. And that's why I'll never be in charge of prisoners.
Right.
So, all right. Until we meet again. Until next time, Evil Mob.
See ya.
Peace.